Welcome back to the deep dive. Today, we are opening a file that I think is going to resonate with a huge portion of our listeners.
I think so too.
We're looking at a solution for a very modern, very specific kind of anxiety. It's that feeling where, you're working hard, you might even have a senior title, a decent salary,
Right.
but deep down, the whole structure is just fragile. If you stop pedaling for, say, 3 months, the whole bike just falls over.
It's the high earner, low stability trap. And to tackle this, we are exploring a really comprehensive system known as the Golden Path strategy.
Okay.
And right from the start, we need to be very, very precise about where this comes from, because the source is absolutely key to the validity of the method. This whole series is based on the Golden Path strategy developed by Tamir Khaham.
And we need to give credit where it's due, for sure.
Absolutely. Tamir Khaham is the creator of the YouTube channel, The Golden Path to Financial Independence. But more importantly for our deep dive, he is the originator and architect of the 3-stage, 13-step strategy for building stable financial independence.
Okay, so he's the architect of this whole thing.
He is. And he's also the official Hebrew translator of The Richest Man in Babylon by George Samuel Clayson.
Wow, that is a fascinating combination. You have this modern strategic architecture on one side, and then this deep connection to ancient financial wisdom on the other.
It creates a very unique texture to the advice. It's not just spreadsheets and numbers. It's about human behavior and, these timeless principles.
So let's position this for the listener. Who is this actually for? Because usually financial advice is either, how to get out of crushing debt or
how to trade crypto options.
Exactly.
This feels different.
This is for the middle. It is specifically designed for salaried individuals who want to move from financial dependence to asset ownership and freedom of choice.
So people who feel like money is something that happens to them.
Yes. They earn it, it sort of disappears, rather than being something that works for them.
Okay, so today is our gateway. We aren't going to try and rush through all 13 steps.
No, not at all. The mission here is really to set the context. The origin story, the philosophy, and the overall map.
And to anchor us, I want to share the hook from the source material because it really reframes everything we are about to discuss.
Let's hear it.
The hook is, financial independence does not begin with how much money you make. It begins with how you see yourself in relation to money.
Okay, let's unpack that because at first glance, that sounds a little bit like a fortune cookie.
It's all in your mind.
Yeah, right. But in this context, and given the author's background, I suspect it means something much more mechanical.
It's not about manifesting wealth or just thinking positive thoughts. It's about system design. And to understand why, we have to look at Tamir Khaham's journey.
Right.
He wasn't a hedge fund manager. He wasn't born into some dynasty of tycoons. He was a senior systems engineer.
Which is a very, very different headspace than a banker.
Completely different. He worked until age 60 before retiring. His entire professional life was built around systems architecture, complex design, and structured problem solving.
So when a systems engineer looks at a problem, they are looking for luck or hot tips.
No. They look for inputs, outputs, loads, and friction.
So he essentially decided to debug his own financial life.
Eventually, yes. But here is the fascinating contradiction in his story. Despite that high-level professional competence, managing complex systems for a living, until he was 45, Tamir had absolutely zero financial education.
45? That is actually incredibly reassuring.
It is, isn't it?
I think a lot of people feel that if they haven't figured out their portfolio by 30, they've just missed the boat.
Not at all. But look at his situation at 45. He operated on a single income source. The classic equation, time equals money.
Right.
His identity was purely employee. Even with a stable salary, he lived with a paycheck-to-paycheck mindset. Financial security was fragile. He said that financial independence wasn't even in his vocabulary. Wealth just felt like this distant, unattainable dream.
So he's standing on a bridge that he knows is shaky, but he doesn't know how to reinforce it. What was the catalyst? What changed?
The turning point was at age 45 when he read Rich Dad, Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki.
A lot of people read that book.
A lot of people do. They get excited for a week, maybe buy a stock, and then go back to normal. But for Tamir, it triggered that engineering brain.
So it wasn't just inspiration for him?
No. A fundamental shift in consciousness occurred before any money changed hands. The shift was moving from the question, how do I make more money? Which usually just means working more hours.
We're asking for a raise.
Right. To a totally different question. How can I own a system that produces income independently of my time?
And this is where we get to that core identity shift.
Exactly. It was the shift from employee to asset owner.
I want to pause on that term asset owner. In the notes, it specifically says we should avoid terms like investor or money manager. Why is that distinction so important?
Because words shape our reality. You know, an investor can feel like just an activity. It's something you do on a Tuesday afternoon. You buy a stock, you hope it goes up. It can feel detached. But asset owner is an identity. It describes your function in the economy. An asset owner's primary job isn't selling time. It's acquiring, maintaining, and optimizing systems that generate value.
So it's about owning the machine, not just feeding coins into it.
That's a perfect way to put it.
Okay, that makes sense. It changes your posture completely. You aren't gambling, you're managing a business, even if that business is just your portfolio.
Right.
So he has this epiphany at 45. Does he walk into his boss's office the next day and quit?
No, and this is the part of the strategy I find most compelling for our audience.
Yeah.
He did not quit his job immediately. He used his salary as an anchor.
An anchor. I like that image. It keeps the ship steady while you do the real work.
Exactly. He used his salary to fund the construction of his assets. He began studying, systematically reading books, taking courses, treating his financial ignorance like an engineering problem that just needed a patch.
And was it a smooth line, just up and to the right?
Oh, far from it. And this is why the systems lens is so important. He made mistakes. He had underperforming investments. He made decisions driven by emotion early on.
Sure.
But because he looked at it as an engineer, he didn't view these as like personal moral failures. He didn't say, oh, I'm so stupid. He said, the system has a bug.
That is such a healthier way to deal with losing money. It's just data.
It's the only way to build resilience. And these failures, they were integrated back into the Golden Path system as constraints to avoid. He essentially stress-tested his own life.
And the output, what did it all look like in practice?
The results were tangible and pretty diverse. He translated The Richest Man in Babylon, which generates a modest but consistent passive income, about 300 shekels a month.
That's not buy a Lamborghini money, but it's money that comes in whether he gets out of bed that day or not.
Precisely. It's proof of concept. He also acquired income-producing real estate in Israel and the USA through partnerships. These assets eventually covered a significant portion of his family's living expenses.
That's incredible.
And there's a beautiful note in his bio. He eventually liquidated some of those assets to help his children buy their own homes.
Which speaks to his definition of the goal, right? It wasn't just about hoarding gold like a dragon.
No. For Tamir, financial independence meant breaking free from time dependence, yes. But it also meant ensuring intergenerational stability.
I really want to dig deeper into this systems engineering lens. I feel like this is what separates the golden path from the, generic advice we usually see.
It is the core philosophy. Tamir's insight is that financial instability is not a moral failure. It is a system design problem.
That is incredibly liberating. If you're struggling, it's not because you're a bad person. It's because your design is flawed.
Exactly. Let's apply actual engineering terms to personal finance just to see how this works.
Okay.
Think of your income. In engineering terms, that is the input subsystem. Your expenses, those are the loads the system has to carry.
And debt. What's debt?
Debt, that's friction.
Friction creates heat. It's wasted energy.
Right. Every single dollar you pay in interest is energy that isn't moving the machine forward. It's just being lost to heat. And then, the most critical concept, a single source of income.
Your job.
In engineering, that is a single point of failure.
Oof. Yeah. If you build a bridge held up by one pillar and that pillar cracks,
the bridge collapses. Doesn't matter how pretty the bridge is or how much traffic it carries. If the support fails, it's over. Yet most of us build our entire lives around a single point of failure.
So the solution isn't just motivation. You can't just yell at a bridge to stand up.
Exactly. It requires structure, sequencing, and constraints.
Sequencing. That implies there's a right order and a wrong order to doing all this.
Which leads us to a critical distinction that the Golden Path makes, and where I think a lot of people get lost. It's the difference between financial independence and wealth.
Wait, aren't they basically synonyms? If I'm wealthy, I'm independent, right?
They often overlap, sure, but the pursuit of them is mechanically different.
How so?
Financial independence means your passive income covers your living expenses. The load is supported by the system, not your active labor. Work becomes a choice.
The dependence on your time is broken.
That's it, and this is achievable first.
Okay.
And wealth?
Wealth is the accumulation of surplus far beyond necessity. It's luxury. It's abundance. The mistake people make is aiming for wealth before they have achieved independence.
They try to build the penthouse before the foundation is even dry.
Exactly. They take massive risks to get rich quick, which just destabilizes the whole system. The golden path premise is that stability precedes growth. Protection precedes expansion.
So you focus on independence first.
You focus on independence. Once that's reached through asset ownership, wealth becomes an almost inevitable byproduct of the system.
That requires patience. It's definitely not as sexy as buy this crypto and retire next week.
No, it is not. But it works. And to help visualize this whole sequence, the strategy uses a specific analogy, the rocket launch.
I love a good analogy. Walk us through the launch. Okay, so it's a 3-stage, 13-step strategy. Think of your financial life as a rocket you're trying to get into orbit.
Got it.
Stage 1 is preparing the launch pad. This covers steps 1 and 2. This is all about foundation, identity, and direction.
Why do we need a whole stage just for the pad? Why can't we just light the candle?
Because a rocket cannot launch from a swamp. If the base isn't solid, if you haven't shifted your identity to asset owner, if you don't have a clear vision, the vibration from the engines will just tip the rocket over before it even clears the tower.
Okay, so we pour the concrete first. What happens next?
Stage 2 is the launch sequence. This covers steps 3 through 10. This is where the engines fire.
This sounds like the heavy lifting part.
It is the hardest part. You are fighting gravity. In finance, gravity is debt, it's lifestyle creep, it's bad habits, it's unexpected expenses. This stage requires the most energy and the most discipline. You're building momentum, stabilizing cash flow, and eliminating the drag of friction.
And if you can sustain that burn, if you keep the system stable,
You reach stage 3, achieving orbit. This covers steps 11 and 12.
this is where you break through gravity.
Yes, and the physics change. Your systems become self-sustaining. Your income-producing assets start to generate their own momentum. You're no longer fighting just to stay up. You are orbiting.
That is a powerful image. The idea that eventually the struggle stops not because you quit working, but because the physics just took over.
Exactly. But we mentioned 13 steps. If orbit is step 12, what's step 13?
Yeah, usually getting to space is the end of the movie.
Step 13 is unique. It's called focused learning. But it's not just the final step. It is the guidance system. It's a parallel backbone that runs from the launch pad all the way to orbit.
So you don't just learn at the end, you learn the whole way up.
You learn to build the pad. You learn to fly the rocket. You learn to maintain orbit. And this brings us to a mandatory mention, a cornerstone of this philosophy regarding King Solomon.
The wisest man reference, I was waiting for this one.
There is a specific insight here that Tamir emphasizes. I'll paraphrase the concept. Both wisdom and wealth shield us from life's storms. But King Solomon, the wisest man who ever lived, revealed this truth. Knowledge and wisdom give life to their owner.
Give life to their owner. That hits deep.
In the context of financial independence, it means literacy isn't optional. It's the guidance system. If you have the money, the wealth, but you lack the wisdom, you will eventually lose the money.
We see lottery winners go broke all the time.
All the time. But if you have the wisdom, even if you lose the money, you can rebuild the system. The wisdom gives you life.
So we have the creator, the engineering lens, the distinction between independence and wealth, and this rocket map. Before we wrap up this gateway episode, I think it's really important we set some expectations. What is this show?
This show is educational, analytical, and structured. It's a roadmap for asset owners.
And just as important, what is it not?
It is strictly not motivational storytelling. We aren't here to pump you up with adrenaline that just fades in an hour. It's not an inspirational narrative or life coaching. And it is certainly not a get-rich-quick scheme.
Okay, this seems like the right moment for a very serious reality check. We're talking about money, systems, assets. We need to be crystal clear about the boundaries here.
We must be. This content is for educational purposes only. There are no guarantees of results. The fact that this strategy worked for Tamir Khaham does not mean it will work for you in exactly the same way.
Right, because everyone's lows and friction are different.
Exactly. Your circumstances, your risk tolerance, your family situation, and market conditions all differ. You must evaluate this independently and consult qualified professionals, accountants, advisors, lawyers before making any decisions.
We are providing the architectural blueprints.
But you are the engineer of your own life.
Understood. So, looking ahead, we've established that financial independence is a system design challenge, not a luck challenge.
And it requires that fundamental shift from employee to asset owner.
This has been a great overview, but I'm ready to stop looking at the blueprints and start mixing the cement.
Then you are ready for the next deep dive.
Huh.
In episode 2, the actual work begins with stage 1, the foundation.
Okay.
We will be covering steps 1 and 2, the identity shift and defining the vision.
That is where we move from theory to the first concrete actions of the mind.
Correct. It's where we stop just looking at the rocket and we start pouring the concrete for the launch pad.
If you want to follow along with the visuals or just get deeper into the material, you really need to check out the YouTube channel.
Yes, and I highly encourage you to subscribe to the series there. For the YouTube channel, the handle is spelled exactly like this: /@ capital TAMIR, capital GOLD, capital PATH.
That is at Tamir Goldpath, or you can simply search YouTube for the Golden Path to Financial Independence.
See you in episode 2, where we begin with the most foundational shift, changing your financial identity.
Thanks for listening. Let's get to work.